Hello and welcome back to The Winning Agenda. My name is Jesse Muleman Marshall. It's been a big week. Everyone. Sorcery has finally arrived. As you can see here, we've got our beautiful Sorcery binder, which has a copy of almost every card in the set. What I'm going to do in today's video is take you through just very quickly what I've managed to put together in terms of a collection. You'll see that there's a few holes in this collection. Some of them are cards that I'm missing. There's probably about 10 cards that I haven't quite managed to get my hands on yet. But the other holes in the collection are because we've got a couple of decks, which I'm going to take you through as well. So I've got a Battlemage deck, which I'm going to take you through finally in person, not just the online TTS version. It's really great to have the cards in my hands, and there's a few foils in the deck as well, which is pretty cool, so I'll take you through those. So we'll go through all of that and hope you enjoyed the showcase. We've got even more Sorcery content coming up very soon. We're going to be cracking open another booster box of Alpha, see what we get, and we've got a couple of new play videos coming as well. Some of our channel members have given some suggestions for things they'd like to see on the channel, so shout out to those channel members who've done that, and that includes some new play videos with me playing live games and taking someone new through the game, or perhaps a couple of new people and me just sort of commentating, and then we'll have a bit of new player content on TTS just running through the basics of the rules as well. So anyway, let's crack straight into the collection. So I've organized my collection according to the checklist, which you can find online, but I've put the avatars at the front, except for the elemental avatars, which I have at the very back. Because there are 7 down to the Sorcerer. 2 that are missing are the Death Speaker and the Battlemage that I just showed you a moment ago. So I'm just going to flick through quickly and just give you all a taste of what it looks like to have the collection laid out in the beautiful Sorcery binder. There is just enough room in the binder for all of the cards in the set to be displayed. I apologize that can't quite fit all the cards on the camera with my setup here, but hopefully it gives you a bit of a flavor of what it looks like to have everything laid out and looking spectacular in the binder. So we've got each of the elements. So we've got air now into earth, and then within each element, the checklist breaks it down into alphabetical order with minions first, then non-minion cards, magics, and then auras at the end. So that's the end of the earth minions into the earth magic spells, including a few uniques here and there, new unique star seeds, and then into the earth auras at the very end. Into the fire minions with the previously unrevealed Cerberus in Chains, of course, one of the more powerful 3-cost 5 power minions out there. We've got more of the fire minions heading into the fire magics, with of course the iconic Violimp up there. Cone of Flame, Critical Strike, a couple of the fire magic spells, some more of the fire direct damage, removal, mobility spells, which makes up the bulk of that, and then a couple of fire auras at the end. We've got the water minions, of course Fey Changeling, our entry into the life imitating art contest, which we're lucky enough to win a participation prize along with everyone else, thanks to Eric's Curiosa for running that. So there'll be a few more alpha packs in the mail because of that, which is nice. Running through all the rest of the water minions into the water non-minion cards, and slightly higher number of auras in water as well, of course. Previously unrevealed cards like Twist of Fate up the top there. And some of this art, Abundance, just so many beautiful pieces of artwork all throughout the set. Into the artifacts, and there are of course a few more holes in this section because there are more of these across my various decks. I've actually got 4 decks put together at the moment, which is pretty cool. A little cheeky Philosopher's Stone down in the corner here. A couple of mixes as well, which haven't found their way into decks yet. A beautiful Ruby Core. And onto the sites. So Cloud City, some of the basic sites, some of the uniques over here as well. Pillar of Zeros. So it goes through all the elemental sites by element first, with water last there. And then we've got the dual sites and the multicolor sites. Moving into the sites that have no elemental affinity at the end here. Some beautiful ones in that section as well. Mirror Realm, of course, an iconic piece of artwork in the alpha set. And then onto the elemental avatars at the very end. Then in the last couple of pages, there is a bit of extra space in the binder. I've got the box topper pack, And then the pledge pack. At the moment, there's a pledge pack card missing, which is Gar Sirens, because I'm sending that out to a lucky member. I'm actually giving away the entire contents of pledge pack to our members. So some pretty amazing cards to be receiving there, but that's just a way that I'd like to say thank you to people who've been supporting the channel. And if you would like to sign up as a member and get into those giveaways over the next couple of months, you can of course click join on the channel as well. So that's the end of the binder. And as you can see, the collection fits beautifully in there. It looks fantastic when it's laid out. Haven't, as I said, a few holes still in there, but some of that's due to what I'm about to show you now, which is the decks that I've already put together. So we'll start off, of course, couldn't start anywhere else other than Battlemage. All right, so let's take a look at the Battlemage deck laid out. It's just so exciting to finally have these cards here in person, and especially to have a few of these absolutely gorgeous foils as well. I mean, look at that flaming sword. Might as well take it out and have a little bit of a look at the back as well, hey? It's just so nice to see that full art back, and just the way these foils look in person. I mean, the color saturation is slightly different than on the regular cards, but also the pop of the rainbow, and then the stamp, the foil stamp that's slightly raised. See if we can get a good look at this close up. So we've got the beautiful backside, which just shows a little bit more of the artwork on each of these cards, and then of course the gorgeous foiling at the front, including that slight texturing, which it's really hard to pick up on camera. I've tried to get the lighting good for this video. I hope the cards look beautiful on the camera as they do here in person. But yeah, the foils are just really something else. So I might just showcase each of the foils a little bit first. So that's the flaming sword. Then we've got the rolling boulder, another of the artifacts in the deck. So I'll try and both do a showcase of the cards and talk a little bit about the strategy. All of the cards on the right hand side of the deck here are the non-minion cards, so they all fulfill some kind of role that's important to getting you over the line. As an aggro deck, you need a few tools. So Rolling Boulder is both a good finisher because it gives units here, so it's a 4-cost artifact relic, so you play it onto one of your sites or into the hands of one of your minions or your avatar. And it has units here have tap, give Rolling Boulder a push. It rolls as far as possible and deals 4 damage to each other unit along its path. So what you can do with this is take out a number of minions that they have lined up, or you can just take a long pot shot at the avatar across the board at the very end of the game to deal the death blow. So Rolling Boulder is a very versatile way to deal either damage to a clumped number of units, or look at that foil shimmering, it's just fantastic. Or to finish off an avatar that's tried to run across to the other side of the board. And of course, there's that full Jussi Pilkus art on the back there. Just get a little bit more of a sense of all of those creatures that are about to be crushed by the boulder than you do on the regular artwork. They're a little bit covered up at the bottom there. So that's the Rolling Boulder, number 2, foil number 2. I actually got a second flaming sword, and this is one that I opened in a pack, and it's got this gigantic dint in it. That was quite funny, actually. I opened it, and I was so excited to see a flaming sword. I was like, oh, it's going straight in the Battlemage deck. And I thought, is that kind of like, because there's quite an interesting sort of 3D effect that Alan Pollack managed to get with the sword on this artwork. And I thought, is that kind of part of it that looks a bit different in the foil? But no, it was just a gigantic dint. I think you can probably see it on the back as well. It's a bit of a scratch and a dint. But oh well, it still looks beautiful. And, you know, cards are meant to be played, so it'll still make its way into the deck. And we've got a foil Chain Lightning as well, which is another one of those cards that is just a fantastic finisher. It deals 2 damage, it costs 2, it's a magic. It deals 2 damage to target unit nearby. Any number of times you may spend 2 to additionally target a new unit nearby the previous one. Now, crucially, you can't go back to one that you've already hit. It has to be a new unit, because that's specified in the text. But the capacity to hit multiple units and just to sort of pick out the avatar, as long as you're nearby them, which you usually are with the Battlemage, means that this is another great finisher. And of course, there's that. Another beautiful piece of Alan Pollack art. Plenty of contrast. Just, I think all cards that feature feature lightning in most games look pretty amazing in foil. Next foil up is Palabri Bats. This is one that I just picked up in the last couple of days. You know, it's a sneaky little ordinary, nothing too special in terms of rarity or monetary value, but in terms of how it looks, it's a gorgeous piece of artwork from Lindsay Cromett. Just beautiful big yellow moon, nice contrast with the bats in the foreground. And yeah, it just looks fantastic in foil, the way that that all shimmers. I mean, they've managed to really pick out what you want to see as the bright parts of each piece of artwork, and then keep things like the bats as dark figures in the foreground. And cards like this really showcase it. I should say as well, the cards that have a lot of blue tend to look even deeper and richer in foil than they do in non-foil. But yeah, I think the balance on a lot of these pieces of artwork, even this one here, just looks fantastic in the full art version on the back as well. Men of Leng is another one of our minions in the deck. Another one that has this really sort of brightly coloured background that looks fantastic in foil. And those rather strange looking figures in the front. In the foreground, the Men of Leng themselves. So it's a 2-cost, 2-power minion. Whenever Men of Leng strike an avatar, that avatar discards a random card. A key part of our strategy in terms of getting the pressure on early and hopefully getting a bit of card advantage if you can go Men of Leng into a grapple shot. 3 cost, an ally shoots a projectile. If it hits a unit, the ally is dragged to that location. It may strike the hit unit, and because grapple shot says strike, it triggers Men of Leng, which say whenever they strike an avatar, that avatar discards a random card. So if you play the men on turn 1, even with a tower, then you play another tower and play grapple shot on turn 2, you can shoot your Men of Leng across the board, strike the enemy avatar once, make them discard a random card, then your Men of Leng is actually untapped and you can tap and attack them again for another 2, strike them again and make them discard another card. That's the absolute dream. Men of Leng definitely has a high ceiling in terms of power in this deck. Then we've got the Highland Falconer in foil. This actually fetches out those Pallybury bats, so it's a 2-cost, 1-power minion. It's an elite. It says, Genesis, you may search your hand and spellbook for a beast with airborne, and mana cost 2 or less, and summon it here. Shuffle if needed. Summon means you get it for free, so you get to tutor up a 2-cost beast with airborne, 2 or less cost, and chuck it into play. And then we've got that. I've got to show you the Men of Leng back. Didn't show you that one. But another beautiful piece of artwork. The colour balance with those pinkish flowers at the bottom on the hill. It really looks like a scene, like you can imagine yourself being there in the European Highlands with that falconer. So I'll show you just quickly the back of that Men of Leng. Again, just the balance that you get when you see the full art. I think it's really worthwhile just giving us that little sneak peek. Last but not least, I think, in terms of foils, yeah, I'm just having a quick look. Yeah, this is the last foil we'll showcase today, and then we'll just get back into the overall deck tech, is the Gaia Hippogriffs. Now, this is one of my favorite pieces of art in the game. Shout out to Gardu, who is all over social media with fans of the game, just celebrating the enjoyment and excitement that's coming with the release. So thanks, Gardu, for engaging so much with the community and with the players, and also for shipping me some beautiful prints of this and another painting, which I ordered from Gardu in the Philippines. So do get in touch with Gardu on Facebook if you want to order some of his prints. He's very friendly, ships them off, really well protected. And up next, in one of our upcoming videos from our store at Plenty of Games, I'll actually show you how they look framed up on the wall as well. But Gaia Hippogriffs, a fantastic card, 4-cost, 3-power airborne charge. And it just gets in there on the turn that you play it. That's what charge does. It's basically haste from Magic, which means that it's very hard to defend against since it can attack diagonally because it has airborne. Gives you a lot of flexibility on where the Gaia Hippogriffs attack. And doesn't that full art look fantastic too? That sort of smouldering effect in the bottom. So that brings us to the end of the foils. And now we'll just take a bit of a look through some of the other cards in the deck and what role that they play. So as I said, on the left-hand side of the deck tech here, we've got all of the minions and a sneaky Ruby Core. So what the Ruby Core is doing is allowing us to splash the fire cards. So we've got 2 Sacred Scarabs, a Blaze, and an Infiltrate as our fire cards. The reason that we're going to all this effort to splash what are relatively low impact cards largely is because Highland Falconer is a package that we want to play, and Sacred Scarabs is the best card to fetch with Highland Falconer. So Sacred Scarabs is a 2-cost, 1-power ordinary beast. It's got airborne, and it's got Death Right, deal 3 damage to each unit here. This helps us do a few things. The first one is deal with Dapperal Vampires, which can be a bit of a pain for this deck, because Sacred Scarabs for 2 cost actually trades with the 5 cost Dapperal Vampire really well. Can attack into it. Yes, they get to gain some life, but you get to remove the Dapperal Vampire from the board. The other thing that it does is it just deals 4 damage to avatars really, really well. And coming off the back of a Highland Falconer, which costs 2, leaves behind a body itself, which can attack for a couple more points of damage as just the 1 power Falconer, the Sacred Scarabs lets you get in 4 basically direct damage to their avatar that's very hard for them to defend. Even if they have another minion there to block, you still get to deal 3 to the avatar, and you probably get to take out the minion as well. So Sacred Scarab is very hard for your opponent to interact with, very hard to defend, and something that you definitely want to have in this and other aggro decks. Other important minions in the deck include the Phase Assassin and the Spectral Stalker, both of which have Void Walk, which means we can place them up next to our opponent's avatar into a void location early on in the game. So Spectral Stalker and Phase Assassin, we'll have a closer look. So we've got Phase Assassin, a 3 cost Void Walk minion that says whenever Phase Assassin enters the void, he gains stealth. So that means that the first time you play Phase Assassin into a void location, preferably next to your opponent's avatar early in the game, it also has stealth, which means if they place a sight underneath it to bring it out of the void, it will still have stealth until it attacks, which means it's harder for them to just attack it and pick it off, and also harder for them to remove it. Spectral Stalker is a similar 2 cost 2 power Void Walk minion, and crucially being 2 cost in air, it's something that we can play on turn 1 because we can get 2 mana from our basic towers. So this is a really powerful turn 1 play, particularly on the draw, as it can get your aggression happening very, very early before most decks in Sorcery are ready to deal with it. Another couple of cards that I thought it's important to highlight, I've already spoken a bit about Grapple Shot. I'll just highlight a couple of our maneuverability spells. We're going to quickly run through the sites as well. I'll show you some of the foil sites. So here we've got Blaze. It's an exceptional fire spell. It costs 3, and it says this turn, give an ally movement +2, it can't be intercepted, and it leaves a trail of fire at departed locations. When it stops, each unit along the trail takes 2 damage. So this is very helpful for Battlemage because you can, for the actual Battlemage itself, because you can play it on your Battlemage, move it 3 spaces because it gets movement +2, so it's got movement 1 and then it gets another 2 spaces of movement. It can't be intercepted, and it leaves a trail of fire at departed locations. So this allows your Battlemage to easily pick off multiple units, to deal 2 damage that's really hard to defend to an avatar that's at death's door, or you can kill a large number of enemy minions that are trying to clog up the board. Blink is just a great spell. It's a cantrip, meaning it draws a card back, it replaces itself, and it gives you a lot of mobility for your avatar, but also for your other minions. So it's any ally, being the Battlemage or any of your minions, gets to teleport to a location nearby, which means you can also teleport diagonally. It's just an excellent mobility spell, and the fact that it replaces itself and it only costs 2 mana means it's got very low downside. So the last card that I'll run through on the spell side of things is Skirmishes of Mu and actually Infiltrate, because these are both new since I did the deck tech. So Infiltrate is just something that I'm trying out. I don't think it's going to be amazing in the deck. I just think it's one of the unreleased cards that we haven't had a chance to play with yet, so I want to give it a go. It says it's a 4 cost, and it says gain control of target enemy minion until it deals damage, and tap it, it gains stealth. So this is a great way that you'll often find as a play pattern with this Battlemage deck that your opponent will play out some kind of blocker, or you feel like the tide is turning at some point. And this just allows you to control magic, gain control of your opponent's best minion, or to remove a blocker on the last turn. So if you got your opponent to death's door, and one of the ways that they try and stall you out is to play a defender to try and stop your Battlemage or one of your minions dealing the death blow, you can actually infiltrate, take control of that defender, and then just attack freely, and the defender will no longer be able to block, both because it's tapped and because you control it. So that's Infiltrate. Skirmishes of Mu is a 4 cost 3 power minion, and we've actually had an FAQ recently which says that this ability, during basic movement, Skirmishes of Mu may perform a ranged strike from any location along their path, also applies when you use the move and attack action. So if you tap your Skirmishes of Mu to move 1 step forward and attack with your melee attack, if you like, or your just basic attack, you can also, during that movement, perform a ranged strike. So you basically get to attack with this twice in 1 turn. And that means that if there's an enemy avatar or an enemy minion within range at any point along your move and attack action, then you can shoot them. So you can deal 3 damage, for instance, to a site that you target, and you can also deal 3 damage to an avatar that's nearby, or adjacent rather, because then it's within range of your ranged strike. So skirmishers, just having the opportunity to attack twice in one turn, basically gives it double strike and makes it very, very powerful. It's a more limited version of double strike because it can only hit units, it can't hit sites, but it's still very, very strong. Alright, so the last part of the deck tech is the sites, and for me this is the part of the game and picking up the actual physical cards where it really comes to life. I mean, this is, I think, the thing that really sets Sorcery apart, and it's something that makes me really excited to get that actually down and play the games. So as you can see, laying out these sites, of course, these form your board. So you play these into this is a Sorcery playmat, you play them into the locations on the board, and they actually become the board that you play on. They're what your minions exist on, they're what your avatar and minions move across. So the beautiful panoramic artwork, the fact that they laid out landscape, and the full bleed effect on the cards really stands out. For this particular Battlemage deck, we've got 4 of each of the basic air sites, which are the towers. They've all got the same ability, which is that when they come into the realm, if they're the only one of that name, so there's Lone Tower, Dark Tower, Gothic Tower, if it's the first Lone Tower, the first Dark Tower, or the first Gothic Tower that you've played in the game, then it gives you an extra mana that turn. So it's just a little bit of extra ramp that you can get in the early game, which is really helpful for an aggro deck like this Battlemage deck. The Ruins is the other one that we're playing to help splash fire. So this is the fire air duel, and it basically just gives us 1 fire and 1 air threshold. So we've got 3 of those. We've then got a couple of other fire sites that give us relevant abilities that we're happy to splash in. So Dwarven Forge lets us play our flaming swords, which are weapons, and our Torzomar trinket, which is also a weapon, for 1 cheaper, which can be really, really helpful to play the flaming sword for 3 in particular, rather than having to get to 4. And the smokestacks of Nyak actually makes our opponent's sites just lose their abilities. Our towers, since their ability is a Genesis ability, we've usually used that, and then if we plop down a smokestacks as our 4th or 5th site, then we can invalidate our opponent's site. Free City is just a great one to put down that can help with some additional aggression or make another no-go zone for the enemy avatar if they're trying to run away from you. And we don't lose a lot by playing it because we're going to have enough air threshold to play most of our things, because it's one of only 3 sites in our deck that doesn't give air threshold. And then we've got the Color Out of Space, which I'm going to show you close up because it's a gorgeous, gorgeous foil. So we'll gently and carefully take this out. It's a unique foil, very hard to find, very rare, and doesn't it just live up to the reputation? A beautiful piece of artwork from Brian Smith, one of his least dark pieces of artwork in the core set, in Alpha, and one that just looks fantastic. So I'm just trying to get the focus right there. There we go. So the colors, the shine, the 4 little elemental symbols down in the bottom right there, and then of course that stamped foil text box all look amazing. And then the full art back, also absolutely gorgeous. So that is one of 2 foils that I've got at the moment in the site portion of this deck. The other one is a tower, which I'll show you as well. So we've got a foil Gothic tower here. And this is one of those, a great example of what I was saying before about the blues. So the blues on the foils just look absolutely incredible. You can see there on the sky, all 3 of the towers, particularly the Dark Tower actually, have some really, really deep blues in the skies of each of them, and they look fantastic in this foil. Again, the colors don't translate fully through cameras, particularly because of the rainbow foiling, but when you see these in person, the foiling on those blue sections is just incredible. And there's that full art back. I think once people are familiar enough with the game, and maybe if I get tired of looking at the beautiful foiling, I might opt for the full art on some of these as the display side when I'm playing. So that brings us to the end of today's video. I hope you enjoyed the collection showcase of what I've been putting together from the Sorcery Alpha set, as well as this very, very fun Battlemage deck that I'm looking forward to getting onto the table and showcasing some games with. If you've got any suggestions for things you'd like to see on the channel from Sorcery content, please do let us know. And I'll be showcasing that Death Speaker deck as well as an Water Sorcerer deck list that I'm very excited about and very much looking forward to playing. So thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time. Cheers.